That's not long enough.
Is that a newer slide?
Well, we this meeting, you watch
Touch it every
this.
once in a while.
We're having new records.
John, I'm gonna grab a paper copy.
Yeah, we'll get it for you.
I got it.
Actually include a sample resolution in the grapple.
Okay, we can do the pledge of allegiance. All right, everyone, welcome to the BCAG Board of Directors meeting. It's a great day today. I can't remember the date, but we're good.
22nd.
22nd of July, 2021. Please, join me in saluting the flag. Ready, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Board Member Connolly?
Here.
Board Member Lucero? Board Member Ritter? Here. Board Member Kimmelshoe?
Here.
Board Member Teeter? Here. Board Member Bush?
Here.
Board Member Casey Rowe? Here. Board Member Calderon?
Here.
Pat Reynolds? Board Member Jones?
Would any board member like to pull something from the consent agenda?
Board Member Tryon is here for Paradise.
Okay. How does that work?
Board Member Jones is also here for Paradise, so, I think that, Board Alternate Tryon is here as a citizen, not as a member.
Okay. Everybody good with that? All right, is there any public comment or any, public interest in pulling something from the consent agenda?
None.
Entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I'm just gonna voice it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? It's unanimous. Okay, we have an action item number 6, approval of resolution 2021-2202 to receive Caltrans Partnership Enhancement Grant Funding for North Valley Passenger Rail Strategic Plan. We need an acronym.
Yeah, we need to work on that. Another acronym to add to the list, right? Can you guys hear me okay? Is this thing working? Great. Yeah, so I think you probably don't remember, but back in January at the board meeting, we let you know that we were applying for this grant. And we found out last month that we were successful in receiving the full funding amount of $500,000 from Caltrans. We also have an additional, I think, approximately $65,000 in matching funds for this study. And so, as Board Chair Connolly indicated, a resolution is required in order to move forward with the grant contract stuff with Caltrans. And so, I think what we explained back in January is that we're going to be, conducting a study to look at expanding passenger rail service from Sacramento area up into Butte County, and we'll be looking at the 2 existing Union Pacific rail lines, one that goes to Oroville, one that goes to Chico, and we'll be looking to determine what sort of improvements would be needed to the existing track in order to expand service northward and kind of make a decision as part of the study whether it goes to Oroville or Chico, and some of that will depend on what we find in working with Union Pacific on, how much freight traffic are on each different line and which line will work and which line won't for passenger rail. And so we're probably going to get started later this calendar year. We're going to, do a request for proposals, bring in a consultant team. We're going to be working closely with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority and Dan Levitt down there. And they currently operate 2 passenger rail services, the San Joaquins, which is the Amtrak service in the San Joaquin Valley, and then the Altamont Corridor Express, the ACE, which goes over from the San Joaquin Valley over towards the Bay Area. And they have a project that's funded to expand one or both of those systems from Stockton to Natomas. That's fully funded, and they expect that to, be underway with, passenger rail service in the next, I think, maybe 2 years. And so in working with Dan at the San Joaquin JPA, they're very interested in expanding one of those two passenger rail services northward into Butte County, whether it's the ACE or the San Joaquins, it remains to be determined. So we're going to be working closely with the San Joaquin folks, since, you know, if this is successful and we're able to implement it, they would be the sort of operators of the passenger rail service, and BCAG would be helping fund the needed improvements such as passenger rail stations, any kind of track improvements that are required for UP. So, yeah, so, you know, essentially the study will be looking at, like I sort of said, the capital costs for track improvements, passenger rail stations, parking lots, layover maintenance facilities, those sorts of things, kind of whatever Union Pacific kind of tells us needs to happen in order to accommodate the passenger rail trains. Looking at operations and maintenance costs, and then a proposed schedule, fare structure, and then a financing plan. So really, we're looking at trying to figure out what is it going to cost to do this, and then let's do it, you know, and we're hoping maybe within the next 5 years to have this thing operational. You know, we don't want to just kind of develop a plan and have it sit there. So we're looking at it as kind of like a project study report for a highway project. Like, let's figure out everything we need to do, then we'll be able to move forward with it. So, and then just to touch on kind of the process of the study, is, you know, going to follow kind of a typical planning process. We're going to have a project development team that's going to kind of guide the study, review deliverables. It'll be BCAG member jurisdiction staff, so your planning, probably public works staff, and then also the staff from the cities and counties to the south of us where the service will come through. So Marysville, Yuba City, Sutter County, Yuba County, Sacramento County, SACOG. So it'll be a pretty big group kind of reviewing the deliverables, coordinating things. We'll probably have a sort of a stakeholder committee for kind of non-governmental entities to keep them close and provide them information as it goes forward. And then we'll have a usual kind of public outreach process with, you know, public workshops and that sort of thing. And a lot of the details are going to be developed as we get underway with a consultant and kind of refine the scope and that sort of thing. So I think that's all I had. I don't know if John wanted to add anything. Or, yeah.
Yes, Chris, it looks like there will be a station in Natomas, possibly.
Yes.
And then that's the closest to the Sacramento airport, possibly.
Yeah, and that's sort of already, that site's already committed with the grant that the San Joaquin JPA has. So they're definitely going to Natomas. And then there's regular bus service, the shuttle bus that goes out to the airport, like very regularly. So,
And if the study is productive and it looks like something we want to do, then how would it be financed?
yeah,
All the improvements up here.
right. I mean, we'll be looking for any sort of funding that's out there that could go towards, you know, funding those capital costs. There's obviously a variety of grants. We work with a lobbyist.
Several state grants. So, like, for example, all the work Chris mentioned, San Joaquin folks got $500,000 or more from the Transit Capital Improvement Program, TIRCP program. So that's a funding source. There are federal rail grant funds that we can apply for. You just have to have the study, the costs, and all that work done before you can start submitting for grant funds.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, it'd be kind of exciting. And, you know, I think it in the near term, it'd be great, but also just thinking longer term, you know, 10, 20 years down the road with, you know, the way the state's going with, you know, not putting funding towards road widening projects and this and that, it could become increasingly like key over time. So, yeah, we're kind of excited about it. So.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody on the phone like to comment? Is there public comment on this matter?
None.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the resolution 2021-22-02 to receive Caltrans Strategic Partnership Transit Grant funding for North Valley Passenger Rail Strategic Plan. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is approval of a consultant contract amendment for the non-emergency medical transportation service. Andy.
Good morning, Board. This is a follow-up item to last month's item about the non-emergency medical transport we talked about, whereby the Board approved up to $50,000 to work toward a study that would allow us to identify the needs. At that discussion, there was a request to bring forward the scope that we would likely be pursuing. So late June, 29th of June, exactly, really, we received the scope. And on the 30th, we talked to the consultant about that scope. And I've summarized it here in the memo item. Particularly, there's 3 goals that we want to accomplish, and that would be to describe the type and extent of need that we see in our region, followed by some service models that might be available and efficient to serve those needs, and then ultimately an action plan. Supporting those 3 goals are 5 specific tasks that just further define how we would go about going through that process. One of the things that we would like to do is, as we develop the processes, have a stakeholder group whereby there might be someone from this board that's interested in participating in that. It's not necessary, but we just want the board to know that it would be helpful if there is anyone on the board that's interested in being involved. You may be hearing some things from constituents that we may not necessarily be hearing that are important to consider in developing the plan. So we think that we could expect to have a draft plan by June of next year. And if we found that was a plan we could feasibly deliver, sustain, fund, and wanted to do, then we could hopefully have a service up and running in the second quarter of 2023. So today's request is to, if the board is comfortable with these tasks or has any additional questions, for us to move forward with executing that agreement to start development of our needs assessment and ultimately a draft plan to bring back to the board.
One question. Did we only receive one proposal, or did we not put it out for, put out an audit?
We have a consultant that's doing our route optimization study, and their subconsultant, AMMA, is uniquely, there are other people do it, but this particular subconsultant has been spending a lot of time doing these particular types of plans. So we would like to just work with that subconsultant through the prime to develop a plan.
Questions, comments by those on the phone? Any other board questions or comments on the podium?
I'll just state that I would be interested in. Not that I see.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Any members of the public like to speak on an item not agendized today, can't not take action on it, but you're allowed 5 minutes. We'll close public comment. We're going to adjourn. Next board meeting will be Thursday, August 26, 2021. I told you it'd be a good one.
Yeah, your 15 minutes.